Hi all, so welcome back to the class once again. So yesterday we have started with life process. If you remember, we have discussed several details. So what I want you people to do is you take up a notebook and listen to the video first, and after listening to the video you write down all the details without looking back into the video. That will help in memorization of the topic, whatever you have learnt, in a very easy way, and it will also make clear whether you followed the topic or not. Okay, so let us move on. Okay, hope you will be ready with your notebooks every time whenever you watch the video. So let us first have a recap of what we have done yesterday and then move on to the other part of the lesson. So going with the recap, so we have discussed about what are life process. So if you can memorize, just think over, give the definition of what are life process. Yes, so life process are nothing but process which are essential for survival of any organism. So I told you to imagine the process what you do, like we have nutrition, taking of food, respiration, growth, movement, etc. where some of the life process what we have, okay, given as examples for the life process. Then we have discussed about the first important life process, that is nutrition. So nutrition, what was nutrition? Nutrition was, yes, so nutrition was the process of obtaining and utilization of the food by the organism, and it is needed for energy and for repair of the worn out parts of the body and also for metabolism, if you remember. And then we have discussed about the modes of nutrition, in which we have discussed that there are two modes of nutrition depending upon the type of the organism, namely autotrophic and heterotrophic. Okay, autotrophic organisms, as we have discussed, they prepare their own food. So we have also given the examples yesterday as green plants and BGA, that is the blue-green algae. And then we have is heterotrophs, which will depend upon other organisms for their food. So the examples yesterday I mentioned, animals, fungi, etc. are some of the examples what we have discussed. So this is the discussion of yesterday's part. Now coming with, okay, today's part of the lesson. So we are discussing about autotrophic nutrition in detail. So in these lessons, actually we have to focus on the nutrition, autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, with all the details very much. So first let us move on with autotrophic nutrition. So what is autotrophic nutrition? So already in yesterday's class we defined autotrophic nutrition as the process by which organisms will make their own food. The process by which organisms will make their own food, and we have discussed that green plants are the organisms which are making food on their own, and these are called the universal producers on the earth. Okay, they produce food for all the organisms. And so autotrophic nutrition, organisms prepare their own food. And what is the process called as? Okay, the process by which autotrophs prepare their own food is what is called as photosynthesis. Children, photosynthesis is very, very important, particularly the equation what I am going to tell you today is very, very important. For sure, it is assured for your exams. So, what is this photosynthesis? So, photosynthesis is made up of two terms, photo and synthesis. So, photo means light, photo means light. Synthesis means production. Synthesis means production. Why it is called photosynthesis? Photo, okay, refers to photons in the light. So light is made up of particles called photons. So when synthesis of the food materials takes place with the help of light, it is called photosynthesis. Therefore, the process by which autotrophs prepare their own food, okay, is what is called as photosynthesis. So this particular process can be depicted easily in the form of equation. You can remember the definition as well as the equation form. Okay, so we will define after giving the equation, okay, which will be very easy for you. So what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the process in which the organisms take carbon dioxide, water, light and chlorophyll. Okay, organisms are taking in four substances. What are those? Carbon dioxide, okay, water, light and chlorophyll, and they prepare their food, which is glucose, and in most of the cases they release oxygen out. In almost all the cases they release oxygen out. So this is what is called as photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? The process by which organisms take in what substances? Carbon dioxide, water, light, chlorophyll, okay, and prepare their food in the form of glucose, okay, with the release of oxygen is what is called as photosynthesis. It is called as photosynthesis. Now, let us see the equation part, how you will depict in the form of equation. So we said that carbon dioxide, water, light and chlorophyll are needed. So the reactant side you write carbon dioxide, okay, so 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light and chlorophyll gives rise to C6H12O6 plus 6H2O and 6O2. So that is the equation, and this is very, very important from examination point of view, very, very important. So you need to practice this one regularly so that, okay, you will be more confident with the equation. So that it is very easy as such. Okay, what you can do best is you write first, you can write CO2 H2O, the formulas you know already, carbon dioxide, water, and you write light and chlorophyll. Okay, and towards the product side, what we are getting glucose. Formula of glucose is C6H12O6, okay, and then 6H2O and 6O2. Okay, so both sides you have water and oxygen represented by the number 6, and here you have 6 and 12. Okay, so you can just put like that. So you write carbon dioxide, water, light, chlorophyll, and you have to just memorize the glucose formula, which is C6H12O6. Then you'll write water and oxygen, and you put the numbers. If you know balancing, which you'll be learning in your chemistry, it is very, very easy as such. Okay, so on the reactant side, after you write the formulas of carbon dioxide, water, put a 6, put a 12 there. Okay, the double of 6 is 12. So 6 and 12 you put. On the other side, towards the products, particularly water and oxygen, you just write 6 and 6 there. And you memorize the formula of glucose, C6H12O6. So if at all you don't remember the equation, in such cases you can okay, just mention the terms as carbon dioxide, water. If they are not asking for a balanced equation, then you can write in the word format that carbon dioxide, water, light, chlorophyll, glucose, and all in words also you can write, which can fetch you some marks at least. Okay, or else you better remember the equation, which is very, very important. So from equation only we give the definition as the process in which, okay, organisms take in carbon dioxide, water, light, chlorophyll, and will produce glucose and also will release oxygen, is what is called as photosynthesis. So because during the process of photosynthesis oxygen is getting released, I represented it with an arrow upwards, which indicates that oxygen is a gas that is released into atmosphere. So because, okay, all the green plants are able to perform photosynthesis, they are able to release oxygen, they are called the green lungs of the earth. What they are called as? They are called as the green lungs of earth, green lungs of earth. So because of okay, the plants releasing oxygen only, we are able to get sufficient oxygen on the earth. All organisms are able to respire. So we need to grow more plants on earth, okay, for our own, okay, safety, for our own health. More plants, more oxygen, better survival of organisms. Rather than deforestation, we have to promote afforestation always. Okay, because they are the green lungs on the earth. And children, you know, usually they say that we get much rainfall when there are plants. Why that will happen is because you see, when the plants perform photosynthesis, they are releasing water out. The water that is released by them basically is responsible for formation of clouds and also for rainfall. Okay, the transpiration. Okay, you remember transpiration? The transpiration, whatever the plants perform, is responsible for rainfall. So from this equation, okay, what we have learned? We have learned the definition. We have learned that the plants are called the green lungs on earth because they are releasing oxygen, and they are also responsible for rainfall because they are releasing water out. Okay, also the equation, how to learn, I told you, you practice it 2 or 3 times after seeing the video. Okay, then next we have is, there was a scientist, okay, named Van Niel. Van Niel in 1931, actually, he performed the same experiment but using purple sulfur bacteria. So yesterday we have discussed that there are some photosynthetic bacteria like green sulfur bacteria, purple sulfur bacteria, which can also perform photosynthesis. So what he has done, he has taken purple sulfur bacteria and he used hydrogen sulfide instead of water. Here he used hydrogen sulfide. So, and he, okay, tried to perform the process of photosynthesis in the organism artificially. So he found that the organism has taken up carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, light and chlorophyll. So light is also represented as H nu. It is represented as H nu. So I wrote H nu here. So the same components except for water, he has taken hydrogen sulfide. So what the products are again glucose, water, but oxygen is not released. It is elemental sulfur that will get released in this particular organism. So like that, in most of the cases, oxygen is released when water is the reactant there. If water is not the reactant, if some other substance is there, the organism is taking up some other chemical substance, the release of the product will not be oxygen, it will be sulfur or whatever the organism has taken in. Depending upon that, the product will vary. So like this, Van Niel, you have to remember that he performed experiment using purple sulfur bacteria using hydrogen sulfide, and in this case instead of oxygen, you have the release of elemental sulfur. So next, coming to what are the raw materials that are useful for photosynthesis, that are needed for photosynthesis. So when you see the raw materials from the equation only, we can say for the product to be formed, what materials are required is what is raw materials. So raw materials we have is carbon dioxide, water, light, chlorophyll, 4 raw materials. So carbon dioxide is there, water, light and chlorophyll are the 4 raw materials which are required for photosynthesis. So where from you are getting all these raw materials for the organisms is carbon dioxide is from the atmosphere, water is from the soil, and then light is from the atmosphere, chlorophyll is from the leaf. Now, what is this chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is the green pigment. Pigment means a coloring substance which we find in the leaves, because of which only our leaves are green in color. Most of the times they are all green in color. So this chlorophyll is very essential for photosynthesis. So that's why, it is one of the raw material, and the plants are able to get it through the leaves. Even photosynthetic bacteria, if you talk about, they don't have leaves, but they have this particular pigment within them which will help in photosynthesis. So the factors, if you see, the carbon dioxide, water, light and chlorophyll, raw materials or the factors. In this we can say that carbon dioxide and light, they are called the extrinsic factors or they are called the external factors. They are called the external factors or they are called the extrinsic factors. And then we have the internal factors or the intrinsic factors. What are those? As you can see, water is there and also we have chlorophyll. The plant need not take it from atmosphere. From soil, it will take water, and chlorophyll is present in the leaves. So utilizing these 4 components, what it is making? It will be making up glucose. So you can categorize raw materials as extrinsic factors, intrinsic factors. Extrinsic are the external factors which are carbon dioxide and light. Intrinsic are water and chlorophyll. So utilizing all this, it will make up glucose. But it is not in the form of glucose that the plant will store the material that has being made. What it will do is, for one set of photosynthesis, 1 molecule of glucose gets manufactured. Like that, throughout the day, when the sun is available, so many molecules of glucose get manufactured. So the glucose molecules will not remain like that only. Instead, what will happen? All the glucose molecules, they get attached to one another. So the glucose molecules will get attached to one another like this, and they form a big polymer. Polymer is a long chain of glucose molecules, a big carbohydrate molecule which is called starch. So there may be a question asking, in what form do the plants store the product of photosynthesis? Is in the form of starch. So in future also we will be referring that plants will store starch within them. Not only starch actually, from the glucose whatever they have produced, they also make the fats, the proteins, other components. See, when you are eating different plant parts, we get all the different components of our food. That is, starch is carbohydrate, also we get the fats, we get the proteins. All those would be made from the glucose whatever that is manufactured. So initially in bulk the plant will be making a starch. So plants will be storing starch. So a quick recap of today's lesson. So autotrophic nutrition, the process by which autotrophs perform their nutrition is what is called photosynthesis. They manufacture their own food. We have seen the equation for photosynthesis as 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light and chlorophyll give rise to C6H12O6, which is your glucose, plus 6 molecules of water plus 6 oxygen molecules. Because of release of oxygen, plants are called the green lungs on the earth, and also because of release of water, they are responsible for rainfall on the earth. Then we have seen Van Niel's equation wherein purple sulfur bacteria was used instead of water, and we have seen that the release is not oxygen there, it is sulfur. So we have seen the raw materials, the 4 raw materials we have listed, and we have seen what are the sources where from the plants are able to get this. The extrinsic factors are carbon dioxide and light, intrinsic factors are water and chlorophyll. So hope you understood. So in tomorrow's session, that is in coming up video, we will be discussing more about all the details of autotrophic nutrition. So stay in touch, do subscribe to my channel, and let us go on with the topic in detail. Okay, probably I'll post some MCQs for you so that okay, you can answer, and in tomorrow's class we can discuss those. Okay, thank you. Here are some interesting questions for you people to solve. So in the coming up video, I will give the answers. So let us see how far you can solve based on the knowledge that is imparted to you. So organisms which prepare their own food are called what? Dash is the main byproduct of photosynthesis. Balance and complete this equation. So I have given okay, the equation in a distorted form without balancing it properly. You need to balance and fill these spaces also. And also next question is dash are called universal producers or green lungs on earth. Dash utilize hydrogen sulfide and will produce elemental sulfur on photosynthesis. So let us see how far you can answer. In the coming up video, I'll give the answers for all these blanks. So I'll be posing questions like this in the form of MCQs, fill up the blanks, odd man out. In different forms, I'll be asking to check whether you are following the classes properly or not. Okay. So just try to work out. Okay. And we will move on more quickly with other topics too. Thank you.